I will never forget to honk my horn on this part of Baguio City again. Year 2000. I was just a neophyte taxi driver then, making do with the occasional shift given to me. Back then, Baguio was not the busy and bustling tourist destination yet. Roads were long and adorned with trees. Not many houses were built. I loved it. One night, I had to cover for one of my fellows who called in sick at the last minute. I just finished a 12-hour stint, but was willing to get as many shifts, because more shifts equals more money. So I grabbed the opportunity thinking it was going to be just another normal duty. This was my first time doing a 24-hour shift. Nothing could go wrong, right? Right? Wrong. 10 p.m. A passenger has just alighted somewhere at military cutoff. Deciding where to go next, I stepped on the pedal and made a quick second right to the rotunda, driving aimlessly into South Drive thinking luck may be on my side and I would be able to pick up passengers at Pacdal Circle. Baguio City becomes a silent hill when the dead of the night unravels. People went to bed early. Back then, there were barely any houses there, and you will barely come across cars passing by, even in the morning. I knew full well there were slim chances I would get passengers at South Drive, but a taxi driver has to try his luck anyway. The first half of the drive was as smooth as it can be. Pine trees lining up the winding roads, windows down with chilly air on my skin, I could as well be in my own music video. I drove past a waiting shed and was about to turn right when my engine started sputtering until it died completely. I was half grateful that there was no one tailgating me but also confused why my taxi died on me in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night. I went back out to open the hood, trying to figure out which part of the engine caused the halt, but it all seemed fine to me. Confused, I went back to my seat and revved up the car again. It started seamlessly, so I hurriedly went out of there. I didn't think too much about the incident and have forgotten about it until it happened again 2 weeks later. This time I had just brought a passenger at Country Club Road and was making my way back to Session Road via South Drive. It was almost midnight then. Slowly turning left, my engine started making weird sounds again before it went off. I tried starting the engine a few times with no luck. Scratching my head, I went for my car door and was greeted with a chilly wind. I lifted the hood to check on the parts and my confusion got worse. Before I left earlier today, I made sure my taxi was tip-top shape. I didn't want my engine dying on me again. My confusion soon became horror-stricken because as I began putting down the hood, suddenly I wasn't alone anymore. There in my passenger seat is a woman. Faceless. What sent chills down my spine was realizing that I was in the same spot as 2 weeks ago. Beside a waiting shed with a dead engine, but this time with a faceless woman with me. I could run. I could scream for help and no one would hear me. It was in the middle of the night at South Drive, after all. I did what I knew best. I closed my eyes and prayed. I opened my eyes to see that the woman was gone. Though I was unwilling to go back to my taxi, it was my only way out of the road. Mustering all the courage I have left, I went back to my seat and started the engine. The relief I felt when it started again was like finding an oasis in the middle of the desert. I drove as fast as I was praying. Still rattled by the nightmare I just got out of, I went to an eatery where taxi drivers frequent to get their coffee. I wasn't in the mood for coffee because I was awake alright, but perhaps being around living people would help me forget that experience. Upon arriving at the eatery, I immediately spotted one acquaintance who is also a fellow taxi driver and shakily told him about my encounter. He told me this wasn't the first time a taxi driver has experienced such. I found out that the waiting shed fronted what used to be Hyatt Hotel, one of the structures in Baguio City which sustained the most damages during the 1990 killer earthquake. That shed? That was where employees would usually wait to get a ride home after their duties. Hearing the story was spooky and sad at the same time. Perhaps the woman who boarded my taxi wasn't aware that she was one of the casualties in the quake and was just trying to get home after a shift. I muttered another prayer for her. My fellow taxi driver gave me advice that I would be using for the next 2 decades until present. Next time you pass by that part of Baguio, slow down and honk your horn, especially during the night.
I was a first-year college student back in 2013. I remember it was around 6:30 to 6:45 a.m. I was half sprinting at Session Road because I had a 7 a.m. class to catch. I had just turned left to Mabini Street and was purposefully brisk walking when someone familiar caught my eye. It was Kevin. He was my classmate in elementary and has been a friend since. We barely hung out, but the bond of little kids playing tag on school grounds is forever. He asked how I was and where I was heading. I told him I had a class in 15 minutes. When it was my turn to ask him where he was going, I felt his mood become somber. He suddenly told me he was also in a hurry and that he had to go. He lifted his closed fist to me as a goodbye. I hurriedly bumped fist with him and we went our separate ways. I found the change in his mood strange, but I didn't think too much about it. That same day, later that evening, Ash, a good friend of mine, messaged me. Wow. 2 friends from elementary in a single day. What are the odds? Ash asked me if I had heard about what happened to Kevin. I paused for a moment before telling her that I just bumped into him this morning. Ash told me it was impossible. I was getting confused with the conversation by the minute. How was it impossible to run into someone you know in such a small city as Baguio? I asked her that. She said what was impossible was me running into Kevin, because Kevin has been in La Union with his family for several days now. I was starting to feel weird. I told Ash I even bumped fists with Kevin before parting, and with confusion, I asked her what really happened to him. Ash said nothing next. Instead, she just sent me a YouTube link of that day's news. What I saw on the news sent chills down my spine. There, on my screen, is news about a 16-year-old boy who was washed away by huge waves in San Juan, LU. His body was recovered in San Fernando earlier that morning. That 16-year-old boy was Kevin. How did that happen? I don't know. Was the man I bumped into at Mabini Street really Kevin? I wasn't sure anymore. But I swear I felt his fist against mine and, I don't know. Perhaps, he was saying his final goodbye to his friends because he was going to a better place now. I'd like to think he is in a better place now. So there I was, talking to my good friend Kevin, who was no longer part of this world. Completely unaware of how crazy I probably looked talking to no one. It's strange to think about, with the huge amount of people crossing the streets, how many are living, and how many spirits are lurking among us. Are we just too in a rush to go to school or to work to notice?
I was a student nurse in Baguio City. I usually go on duty from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. or 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. All of my dorm buddies, even the guard, have been telling me about their eerie experiences in the dorm, from white ladies to mystical creatures to headless ghosts. You name it. So far, I haven't had any encounters with them. I was hoping it would stay that way. But it didn't. The following story happened at my dorm. One long weekend, all of my dorm buddies went home to their respective hometowns, leaving me alone, because, well, I'm a student nurse. I had an 11 to 7 duty at that time. I started prepping for work at 8 p.m., ironed my clothes, and cooked some meals. When the clock struck 9 and I was about to take a bath, I felt unexplainably heavy. There was that odd feeling of someone's presence, someone watching you even though you knew you were alone. Deciding to brush off the feeling, I turned the TV on and maxed the volume so I could hear the noise from the shower. I was walking towards the bathroom when my dog Cookie started barking towards the direction of the kitchen. Immediately after, a cup fell from the kitchen table. Still in denial, I scolded Cookie to quiet down, even though deep inside of me, I was ready to run. I took a bath and was almost done preparing when I noticed my hairnet was missing. What's odd is that one piece of my duty shoes was also missing. What's even odder is I usually place my shoes in the same place every time, and before I took a bath, I remember seeing both shoes there. I checked the living room and then went to my room because maybe Cookie played with the shoes and my hairnet. I was frantically looking for my missing shoes when I heard a knock. Like I haven't gaslit myself enough, I thought to myself maybe Cookie knocked something down. But after a few minutes, not enough excuses could prepare me for what I heard. I heard a kid laughing outside of my room. Terrified and on the verge of crying, I didn't want to leave the room. But then I remembered I had a duty and my supervisor sure as heck won't believe me if I told them the reason I wasn't able to go to work was because of a ghost. They'll just tell me I'm faking it so that I can go home for the long weekend. Damn. I should have gone home for the long weekend. Mustering all the courage I can get, I opened my door to see my hairnet and my shoes on the floor. I immediately grabbed them and then hurriedly continued my routine, trying to forget what just happened. At exactly 10 p.m., I opened my door again and my heart dropped. There in front of me is a girl, smiling widely in an innocent yet eerie way. "Hey, don't leave yet. Let's play first," she said. I don't think I've ever said that many bad words in my life, but I did that night as I screamed and hurriedly left the dorm. I was surprised I didn't fall down the stairs. Out of breath, I told the security guard what just happened. Without batting an eyelash, he told me, "Oh, that little girl in black? I always see her following you down the stairs when you're on your way to work at night."
The best thing about being a taxi driver is you hear and share stories from people from different walks of life. The worst thing is also that you never know what you're going to see or feel when you're a taxi driver in Baguio City. This is the story of two passengers who had an encounter with the paranormal. I usually drive the night shift. I loved doing trips during the night because the roads are wide and traffic is non-existent. I could go back and forth to different parts of Baguio City with ease. During the night, I cater to different passengers, call center agents, graveyard shift employees, and tourists. I was going up Session Road when two people boarded my taxi. They looked like a couple around their 20s. They asked to be taken to Brookside, which I assume is their accommodation. Naturally, the quickest route to their destination is via Leonard Wood, so that's where I will pass by. Before it became a bustling strip of establishments that come alive at night, Leonard Wood was as dark as it could get during the night. There were no streetlights and drivers could only rely on the light coming from their headlights. Just like South Drive, Leonard Wood Road is infamous to taxi drivers because it is where teachers camp, one of the oldest structures here in Baguio City, and Lapro White House are situated. Sometimes I get chills from their stories, but it was almost impossible for a driver like me to not pass by this road at least once a day. Thankfully, I haven't had any experiences yet. I might have spoken too soon, so I was faring Leonard Wood Road with the couple behind me. We just passed by Lapro and were driving along teachers' camp when I suddenly felt a strong gust of wind. Baguio does get cold, especially at night. Thank goodness I have my jacket ready. I decided to switch to low gear and slow down a bit so I can maneuver my way into my jacket. Success. I was able to wear my jacket and was nearing the bridge when the guy suddenly asked me,
"Kuya, why did you slow down?"
He said. "Oh, I just had to wear my jacket because it suddenly got cold," I answered.
"I thought you were going to give her a ride."
While pointing his thumb over his shoulder, I asked him who he was referring to. He told me there was a lady in black hailing the cab, exactly on the sidewalk where I slowed down to put on my jacket. I told him there was nobody there because, as I have said earlier, Leonard Wood was an empty road during the night. Besides, I had passengers already. Why would I pick up another? We were silent for a whole second and the guy's partner started screaming hysterically. She started crying and screaming at the same time, like those you see in the movies where someone was running after you. Now, I didn't see the ghost, but because of the woman screaming, I also got scared. The guy was so busy comforting his partner that I didn't want to ask for more details about what they saw and focused on bringing them home as fast as I could. The woman didn't stop screaming until we had arrived at the destination. The couple paid and went out of my cab in such a hurry that they forgot to get their change. Still terrified, I decided not to take that road going back. I would rather take the longest route than pass there because, who knows, if I take that road again and that lady in black sees that I no longer have a passenger, she might decide to ride my taxi this time. I'm not taking any chances.
I don't get why people love this place, it's run down and damp. But hey, the family chose to go here anyway. I should find my family before I get lost again. As I walked close to the gates, I bumped into a group of people. I looked up and saw my big sister. Looks like they are going inside the building. I didn't want to go in, but I should stick with them. I quickly grabbed the hands of my big sister as she walked inside the old and dark building. I followed Big Sis as we went inside the rooms, then to the roof of the building where you can see the skies and mountains. Sometimes, my big sister gets so excited that she swats my hand and runs fast to join the group for a photo. Wait! I want to join the photo, too! I ran and stood beside her, holding her hand again as I looked at the camera. Click! I'm sure that photo would become memorable for the family. I ran around some more and chased after my big sister. The building has many rooms and stairs. Soon, I got tired. I want to go home. I tried pulling her hand and told her I wanted to go home, but they were busy taking pictures at the fountain. I stood there holding her hand while they took pictures. I think my big sister got tired. She told them we should call a cab and go home. Finally, we all went to the front gate and waited. I was excited to go home and play some more with my big sister. After a while, a white car approached us. 2 members of the group entered the cab. When it was my big sister's turn to enter, she was stopped by the man inside the car. She can't come with us, he said. I don't understand. Why are they leaving Big Sister? Did she do something bad? Big Sister then said, Me? Why? The man looked at Big Sister from the mirror and said, Not you, the girl holding your hand. Big Sis let go of my hand and went inside the car. She didn't even say goodbye to me. I'm sad. I have no one to play with again. But that's okay. I know tomorrow someone will come and play with me here at the Diplomat Hotel. Tomorrow I will have a new big sister, or a big brother. Maybe it will be you. This time, maybe, I can finally come home and play with you.